follow where the path may lead. Go instead where there is no path and leave a trail. A very good morning to the present dignitaries, practitioners, professionals, teachers, scholars, and participants from all across Gujarat, India, and across the globe who have been able to join us on this fine day. I, Purva Dholakia, student of the Department of Public Policy and Governance, would like to take this opportunity of welcoming you all to the first ever International Conference of Public Policy and Governance hosted by the Department of Public Policy and Governance, BK School of Professional and Management Studies, Gujarat University. Good governance is a high priority around the world. In a global opinion poll conducted by the World Bank, opinion makers rated governance as one of the top three development challenges. Public policy and governance, therefore, encompass a multitude of factors which include government agencies, formal oversight institutions, subnational governments, local communities, civil society, the private sector, and political actors and institutions. Good governance never depends upon laws, but upon the personal qualities of those who govern. The machinery of government is always subordinate to the will of those who administer that machinery. The most important element of government, therefore, is the method of choosing leaders. These are the words of none other than Frank Herbert. The aim of today's event is to encourage the students and participants and all our listeners in the direction of becoming future policymakers and strengthening the core of their education and willpower so that they can create a society that the world today not only needs but deserves. To enlighten our audience today, we have had the honor of having with us some very prominent dignitaries who are the epitome of leadership and good governance. Once again, a very warm welcome to all of you. Now, before we proceed any further, let us gear up for the anthem of our very prestigious Gujarat University, an institution which has given excellence in
बुद्धियुतो जहातिह उभे सुकृत दुष्कृते तस्माद्योगाय युज्यस्व योगः कर्मसु कौशलम। भगवद गीता के द्वितीय अध्याय से यह श्लोकांश योगः कर्मसु कौशलम गुजरात विश्वविद्यालय का सिद्धांत सूत्र एवं ध्येय मंत्र है। इस संगोष्ठी में भी स्वच्छता संबंधी जो कर्मयोग हुआ है उसके फलस्वरूप बेहतर समाज की ओर कई कदम हम आगे बढ़ेंगे, ऐसी हम सबकी भावना है। गुजरात विश्वविद्यालय का गीत प्रस्तुत होगा। हम सब
वंदन अभिनंदन, वंदन अभिनंदन, वंदन अभिनंदन, वंदन अभिनंदन, वंदन अभिनंदन। गुजरात यूनिवर्सिटी आपणी, गुजरात यूनिवर्सिटी आपणी विद्यातणु तपोवन। वंदन अभिनंदन, वंदन अभिनंदन, वंदन अभिनंदन, वंदन अभिनंदन।
राष्ट्र चेतना कला साधना खेल भावना विकसे,
विश्व मानवी बनी गुजराती विश्व सकल माविल से। स्नेह संप सहकारनी साथे देती तू सन्मति, सौना साथ ने संगाथे सौ सिद्ध करे उन्नति। प्रेम बंधुता समानताना पल पल प्रसरे स्पंदन। वंदन अभिनंदन।
BK School of Professional and Management Studies is a department of management of the prestigious Gujarat University, which was established in 1976 and is one of the oldest and eminent B schools of Gujarat state. The school has been vetting humans as well as intellectual skills of a new breed of the dynamic managers ever since. BK has acquired a unique position in the list of top B schools with its attributes like excellent curriculum, experienced faculties, industrial exposure, strong alumni network, and academia industry interface. The Department of Public Policy and Governance, established in the year 2020, is one of its kind program aimed at improving efficiency and leadership skills among policymakers and administrators while exposing them to topical issues in management. The department offers courses like PhD, master courses, certificate, and PG diploma courses. It runs courses like MBA in Public Policy Management, MBA in Event Management, MBA in Business Economics and Public Finance, PG Diploma in Public Finance and Economics, and also it is coordinating MBA in Defense Management, running under Institute of Defense Studies and Research. The department intends to undertake the activities for promoting education, research, training, and consultancy in the area of public policy and governance with great pleasure. The department conducts various webinars which bring great knowledge to the students and provide a platform for real time conversations with speakers. DPPG also organizes international conferences that provide significant insights to the participants regarding the trends in the global economy. Here we present a video showing life at the institution.
Yoga Karmasu Kaushalam.
Meaning integrating skill in action. This is the motto of the Glory of Gujarat, that is, the Gujarat University. Taken from Srimad Bhagavad Gita, this motto truly amplifies the soul of the university. Shining like the crown of the vibrant state of Gujarat, Gujarat University has been following the path of excellence throughout its glorious journey in providing the best quality higher education.
Let us begin the first International Conference of Public Policy Governance and Management 2021 with the presence and the blessings of Lord Almighty. Light is a symbol of brightness and prosperity, and with the same positivity, before we go ahead with the ceremony, let us invoke the energy by the lighting of the lamp.
कुरु त्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरु त्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शत्रुबुद्धिविनाशाय दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तु ते दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तु ते शुभं कुरु त्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरु त्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः
For this inauguration function of the International Conference of Public Policy Governance and Management, we have had the honor of having with us on the panel Dr. Puran Chandra Pandey sir, member of the Board of Trustee, United Nations World Food Programme Trust, the resident representative at Climate Scoreboard, Milton, USA. Mr. Yu Kin Mong So sir, advisor, Myanmar Institute of Strategic and International Studies, and consultant at the Mandalay Green City Public Company Limited, Myanmar. Dr. C. L. Dhamejani sir, President of Institute of Defense Science and Technology. Madam Anju Sharma, IAS Officer, Principal Secretary, Higher and Technical Education, Government of Gujarat. Professor Dr. Himanshu Pandya, Vice Chancellor, Gujarat University. Dr. Jagdish Bhavsar, Pro Vice Chancellor, Gujarat University. Dr. Prateek Kanchan, Director of the BK School of Professional and Management Studies. Dr. Neelam Panchal, Head of the Department of Public Policy and Governance. Let us begin the program by a welcome address by the Honorable Director of BK School of Professional and Management Studies. Dr. Prateek Kanchan has done his bachelor's in mathematics, physics, and chemistry, his MBA with marketing, and PhD in advertising. His specialization is integrated marketing communications, international marketing, marketing management, and consumer behavior. Dr. Prateek Kanchan has 2 years of industrial experience and 22 years of experience in teaching at the post-graduation level. Sir has also presented 31 papers at national and international conferences, many of them held at various institutions like IIM Kolkata, Kozhikode, and Indore, to name a few. He has to his credit 33 articles and papers published in various souvenirs, journals, and newspapers and newsletters. He is also a member in the AICT Inspection Committee for new and upcoming institutions and many other institutions across the nation and the globe. Now, since Prateek sir couldn't join us right now, I request Dr. Neelam Panchal to address and welcome our guest. Dr. Neelam Panchal is an associate professor and head of the Department of Public Policy and Governance, BK School, Gujarat University. She is coordinating courses like MBA in Public Policy Management, Business Economics and Public Finance, Event Management, PG Diploma courses under the umbrella of BK School of Management Studies, Gujarat University. Ma'am is also the coordinator and of Management Academy programs of BK School like PG Diploma in Finance, PG Diploma in Training and Development, PG Diploma in Information Technology Management, and PG Diploma in Materials and Operations Management, running under and the academic coordinator for various courses launched under the Institute of Defense Studies and Research at the Gujarat University. During the course of her career, ma'am has completed the Faculty Development Program in Management from the prestigious Indian Institute of Management, Ahmedabad, and specialized programs and management teacher programs and FDPs at IIM Kolkata, Bangalore, Indore, Noida, MDI Gurgaon, to name a few. Dr. Panchal is the chairman of the Indian Society for Training and Development. Dr. Neelam has worked as a full-time faculty at Nirma Institute. She has completed teaching assignments with Management Development Institutes, Murshidabad, Kolkata, Manipur University, Knowledge Consortium of Gujarat, Narmada College Campus, Bharuch, GNFC Bharuch, UGC, HRDC Hyderabad, Indus University, Parul University, to name a few. She has conducted employee development programs, management development, faculty development, and women development programs for executives and middle level managers of different organizations. She has published more than 120 research articles and more than 20 books. Ma'am has developed course materials and cases for the postgraduate courses of MGNCRE, Government of India. She has developed 5 MOOCs and more than 130 e-content modules on various subjects of management, which is part of the Swayam Prabha DTH channel devoted to telecasting of high-quality educational programs. Ma'am has also been the convener of the Youth Symposiums ever since 2016 at the international level in the Gujarat University. It is an honor to have you with us today, ma'am. And now over to you to give the welcome address.
Thank you, Purva. Good morning, everyone. All the dignitaries present over here and all the dear participants. The chief guest of this grand inaugural ceremony of the first international conference on the public policy, governance and management, organized by Department of Public Policy and Governance on the theme Public Policy and Governance, Contemporary Issues, Challenges and Opportunities in Global Economy. Respected Madam Anju Sharma, IAS, Principal Secretary, Higher and Technical Education, respected Professor Himanshu Pandya sir, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Gujarat University, respected Honorable Dr. Jagdish Bhavsa sir, Pro Vice Chancellor, Gujarat University, respected guests of honors, our keynote speaker, Dr. Puran Chandra Pandey, member of the Board of Trustees, UN World Food Programme Trust, resident representative at Climate Scorecard, Milton, United States. Dr. C.L. Damijani, President, IDST, Institute of Defense Science and Technology. We welcome Mr. Yu Hin Mong So, Advisor, Myanmar Institute of Strategic and International Studies, and a consultant, Mandalay Green City Public Company Limited, Myanmar, and respected Pratik Kanchan sir, Director, BK School of Professional and Management Studies. I, on behalf of the organizing committee of the International Conference on the Public Policy, Governance and Management, extend my welcome to this inaugural function of this first ICPGM managed by the DPPG, BK School of Professional Management Studies, Gujarat University. I also extend my hearty welcome to all the delegates coming from different states of India and countries across the world. I extend my warm welcome to all the learned heads of different schools and departments of not only Gujarat University, but the faculty members of across the nation, the invitees, the scholars, the students of different universities, and all young minds who are for the success of this grand event. Dear learned friends, we all know that public policy, it has came into concern in India only in 1954, since the establishment of the Indian Institute of Public Administration and later on Bahadur Shastri National Academy of Administration. These institutions, they were only conducting training on the civil servants previously. However, of late, the public administration has become a new area of interest due to the change in the different frontiers of the research and relevance. Few IIMs and OP Jindal University and other universities also have come up in the area of the studies, and such disciplines we all know that it is well known since early days in United States and in the other developed countries. Even the Harvard University, Cambridge University, Oxford University, and all well known in the world university, they are offering the public policy and the studies, and in the many civil servants have taken their training from there. Of late, Indian higher education institutions, they also realize the drawback in the country, and they're planning for the policy planning and implementation, as a country does not have such specialized courses, and the same is happening with the defense and national security studies. So with this, in line with that, Department of Public Policy and Governance, established under the Gujarat University under the umbrella of BK School of Professional and Management Studies, which is offering the courses in the public policy management, governance, event management, finance, and the public finance, and the other courses. So the first, this conference, it is a noble initiative for this year for a serious and a productive dialogue among the youths, young scholars, faculty members, managers, entrepreneurs, leaders, and social workers on the present day's issues of the sustainability. We all know the era of COVID since 2020. We are all stuck in that. But then also through this virtual platform, we will try to see the output of the conference that enable us in developing a framework for responsible actions towards the long-term welfare without compromising the opportunities and possibilities of the development's survival and happiness of the future generations. We will look forward to the fruitful discussions during the conference and an actionable agenda for the better policies, governance, and management. I acknowledge the warm and tireless supports of all the circles for the success of this conference. In this conference, we have scheduled two plenary sessions. We have parallel panel discussions. We have paper presentations and poster presentations on various themes related to the public policy and governance, and the speakers in the areas of public policy, defense, and national security, governance issues, and the challenges in the areas of management, they are invited. So throughout this day, we would have more than 30 speakers who are going to deliberate on the areas of the public policy and the governance. We could also gather different ideas from the young generation, from the scholars and from the faculties, from the delegates across the globe, and it has been shared in the form of the research papers, which will be published in the book or the journal after the proper review process. I hope this program will provide a good platform to discuss and dialogue various issues and challenges of the sustainable development economy and the role and initiatives that will be taken under the areas of the public policy and management. I once again, on behalf of this organizing committee and on behalf of the BK School Gujarat University, welcome all the learned and respected dignitaries across the world and all those respected dignitaries on the dais, resource persons from different parts of the country, delegates from different countries, students, scholars, and all the members of the BK School. Thank you once again. Over to you, Purva.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for such a warm welcome. Now, let us begin with our program and call upon our first keynote speaker, Dr. Puran Chandra Pandey, founding CEO of Dialogue of Civilizations Research Institute, a Berlin, Germany based international think tank, contributor to Springer Nature, International's Global Encyclopedia on Sustainable Development Goals, and supplemental policy advisor to governments in China, Germany, India, and Rwanda. Dr. Puran Chandra Pandey currently serves as resident representative of Climate Scoreboard, a US climate policy think tank. Previously, Sir has served in senior leadership programs at Nippon Denro Ispat, Bennett and Coleman and Company, and the United Nations. He has also conceptualized the launch of some of the biggest public service campaigns, including Tech India, earning praise from the General of the United Nations. Sir's professional work on issues related to sustainability, circular design, sustainable development, climate change, and international treaties, environmental policies, multilateralism, international project collaboration, energy transition, private sector, and development cooperation transcends geographies around and across the world and stands widely quoted nationally, regionally, and internationally. Sir has been trained at Asian Productivity Organization, Japan, United Nations in New York, Swedish Institute Stockholm, and UNEP Tonji Institute on Environment for Sustainable Development, Shanghai. It is an honor to have you, sir, today on the panel. Kindly grace the occasion with your kind words. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much indeed. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Okay. Thank you very much indeed, and for your very kind introduction. And I'm also very thankful to Gujarat University, especially uh, uh, Dr. Madam Neelam Panchal, for inviting me to this very, very important conference, which is not only on public policy, but really goes around and subsumes a lot of areas where sort of becomes the fulcrum of a new international economic order, which is very, very important when we really look at any public policy program. And most of the public policy programs, both within the country and around the world, they basically focus on, internal mechanisms and how can internal mechanisms be put into place so that they can deliver better for the people within domestic constituencies. But I'm very happy that this very, very important theme has been chosen for the deliberations today. So I would really like to thank for inviting me and for choosing a theme which cannot be more apt, which cannot be more workable, which cannot be more opportune in terms of putting our thoughts and heads together to figure out as to how international economic order is shaping and where do we really find ourselves into it, what are the kind of trends, what are the drivers, and how are we really going to look at that order, which is not really benefit of geopolitics, which is not really benefit of other treaties, and which is also not benefit of the new order, which is fast in the making, if we can really say so. So let me go back in time a little bit and take you back to 1974, when a bunch of developing economies came together through the UN auspices and tried to roll out an agenda which was basically to find their foot on the ground and see to it that these developing economies found a much favorable economic order whereby they could, do more trade, they could have better tariffs, they could have lower barriers, and they could also really try and work together hand in hand, shoulder to shoulder with the developed economies. So this really happened in 1974, and it was basically to uh, jointly cobble up uh, Global South's overall agenda in terms of a favorable degree of trade which they could probably take up. But as you know, world is divided and has always been divided between the global north and the global south. So what really happened was that from 1974, when this wind of change began to be undertaken by developing and underdeveloped economies, developed economies did not really want that to proceed further. And by the time we came into early 80s, the whole thing was blown away by a new agenda which was undertaken by the global north. And that agenda became Washington Consensus as we know about it, which meant that the global north began to talk about structural changes and try to give a little giveaway to the whole agenda which the developing economies were putting through under the auspices of the UN. So it's very important that we understand this new emerging international economic order, which has been the point of contestation, but I think which has become very important as well. So from 74 we came to 1980, and then we quickly came down to a fact that developing economies had to really fall back on GATT, which again meant that these economies were trying to come together and figure out as to how can they really find some favorable incentives on trade, both in goods, also in services, and then that also subsumed the investment areas. And these things became pretty rallying point, which we began to see through WTO when it became functional in 1995. So 1974, we had this agenda being pursued by developing economies. By the time we came to 1980, that agenda was thrown to the wind because we came to talk about the structural changes in trade and which resulted in the Washington Consensus. And then in 1994, this whole idea of GATT came in where we all began to talk about goods and services and also investment, which also led the countries together to talk about investment. And subsequently, we all began to talk about environment as well. So that's a little brief history that we need to understand before we really come down to talk about any order, and more so when we talk about emerging international economic order. Now I come straight away from 1995 down to the year 2000. 2000, you will all recollect that we had Millennium Development Goals. These were not treaty based goals, but UN was very keen that every country on this Earth planet would like to follow through some rule based order and try and follow through development agenda and also report back if the countries needed to report back. So it was not a compulsory mandate on the countries to report on what they were doing through MDGs, but they could or they could not. So it was fluffy, it was open ended, and not much could be achieved by the time we arrived into the year 2015. And you all recall that year 2015 sort of was a transition period when we moved from MDGs to Sustainable Development Goals. And in the year 2015, we also had Paris Climate Agreement, and these were sort of treaty-based instruments which force the countries to follow certain rules of the games, but also report back to the UN at the end of the year so that there could be a stock taking and everybody could know, meaning every other country around the world, which are the members of the UN, could also know what is one particular country doing with regard to 17 development goals. And these are nothing but societal goals, economic goals, and environmental goals. So we are now passing through a transition period, which was from MDGs to SDGs, and we are in 2021, which means that we have already lived 6 years through SDG goals. So this is where we are in terms of a new emerging economic order, which is not only local. Local it is because anything which is global has to be rooted in the local, efforts, local endeavors, and what the governments would perhaps end up doing in alignment with everybody. So we can't really leave anybody at this juncture in time when any government is planning to do anything which has been given to them by a global community, which in this case is the UN. So this is a very brief kind of an order which we need to really remember and recall if we were to really go ahead and talk about where are we really in terms of an order which is economic order, which is geopolitical order, because when we talk about economic order, as I briefly mentioned, that we had only goods and services, and then we added investment, and then we went on to talk about environment as well. And these things were all happening through international development cooperation framework. So any economic model cannot be thought through without geopolitics within it. So while having said it, this conference is also happening at a very opportune time when we have G7 heads of states meeting in Cornwall in London. And this whole idea is to bring about seven most developed economies. I'm not really trying to call them as richest economies because that's not the right word to use. But I would really go on to say most developed economies on the earth. These are the seven. Of course, it used to be G8, but Russia was expelled because it annexed Crimea. So we have seven developed economies which are meeting in Cornwall in London as we speak to each other. And they have an agenda which is really very important, which is really very forceful, which is really bringing everybody around and trying to see that the following things happen. And this agenda has a framework, and that is why I'm saying these seven heads of states are the most developed economies of the seven, which are very advanced economies. They are talking about five things currently, which are both in terms of how the trade will evolve. It is also in terms of how new economic order is going to shape up. And it is also about new framework of geopolitics within which new economic order is really going to set and advance as we really move ahead. So five areas which the current G7 heads of states are looking at. First is the climate. They really believe that if trade and trade agreements were to succeed, climate cannot be, whisked away. So climate has got to be the part of any future development, geopolitics, and trade negotiations, which are very, very important. The second thing that they're talking about is COVID 19. Not that COVID 19 is the current virus which is ravaging countries after countries around the world, but it is more from the point of view of health. So, how will the health play a pivotal role when we would really talk about any global economic order, any trade agreements, any treaties which countries would really like to push through? The third thing, which is being talked about again in the context of trade and development, is the cybersecurity. There are certain countries in the world which are playing a very bad role. So they have nothing to do. So what they will do is they will have the deep internet enterprise and try and attack corporate houses in US, transmission lines in India, railway and infrastructure facilities in China. So they are really disrupting the whole apple cart, if I could say so. So cyber is the third thing which they're really looking at. Fourth one is technology, because any future trade deal and economic order or geopolitics cannot really be thought through unless we really talk about technology. And this technology, as we all figure out, has become a bone of contention between countries in the north and countries in the south. 5G, for example. So there is a new coalition of the willing is not really allowing Huawei from China to be able to take part in new 5G application processes around the world. And therefore, technology is really going to play a very, very critical role as we go ahead. And finally, what these heads of states are currently talking is about supply chain. So if we were to really look at these five areas or issues or instruments and try and put that into the kind of future economic order, we have the five trends, therefore. The first trend is that we have a new global order, which is centered in the new economic order, which also means trade, investment, services, goods, and everything else which is part of it. So the first trend which is really going to happen is that there will be a new alignment. And this alignment would be on the basis of the rules. So countries which are rule-based, meaning they respect human rights, they respect democracy, they respect development and put people within the center of it, are the ones who are going to come together. And you can really correlate this to what is really happening. So, on the one hand, we have democracies coming together. On the other hand, we have those countries which do not really care for democratic values, principles, and rules. So, this is the first trend which is going to happen. The second trend, which is really going to happen, is that climate is going to be front and center, and which also might mean that when we really go ahead in time, there could be countries which might be penalized through unique and differentiated tariffs or new barriers if they do not really follow the rule of the game on the climate, which means that they will have to not only look at how their products and services are being delivered, but also how do they really best put it in a way that they are decarbonized, they are net zero, they're carbon neutral, and therefore there could be incentives and there could be punitive measures also which countries could probably take against those countries which are not really following the rule of the game in terms of how do they really manufacture their products and services, and then how do they really supply it to other countries. The third thing, which is very important to look at from the point of the view of the trend, is that we will really need new FTAs, which is free trade agreements. Free trade agreements are very unique, where two countries or more than two countries agree together to conform basis international law that they will loosen the trade barriers and make trade as an agenda for growth and development of the people. And this can happen in two ways. One, the two countries can do it together. This means India and US can do it together. And there could be multilateral free trade agreements where more than two or three parties could do it. But trade agreements are notoriously complex issues. Everybody wants to do it, but when you sit down and talk about it, it becomes absolutely complicated. So you do not really have in the world today as we talk any FTA which might have succeeded. So there is a new effort by these G7 heads of states to figure out as to how do they really put this whole idea of new FTA and help each other grow, develop, and create a favorable trade regime for every country around the world. And the fourth thing which is happening is a trend is that we will really have a new global international development order, which means that every country, especially G7 and rich countries, they will really have to partake minimum, and they have really promised, but they have not been doing it. They will really have to set 0.7% of their gross national income for aid purposes, which means that if there is some problem in Africa, Britain would really try to spend 0.7% of their gross national income on well-being of the people in Africa, which means that richer countries have to really help and support those countries which are poor, underdeveloped, or developing economies. And finally, as I said initially as well, that we will be seeing a new order, both economic and geopolitical, where we will have the coalition of the willing which means that the people who value new global architecture, where values, in addition to trade and development, will also really gain much salience, which would be, certain things which you can't feel and touch, but they will be more like human rights. So, human rights in business, climate in business, democracy in business, health in business. And therefore, we are really going to be experiencing a new international economic order. And that international economic order will more likely and most potentially will see its centering very much around the trade, around the development, around geopolitics, and finally, a lot of salience which would be deep rooted into a new international economic order, which was started by a bunch of developing economies back in 1974, which could not really become the reality, but we are now moving pretty well on our pathways to see to it that we do not only have a better, planet that we live on, but we have a better international global economic architecture which takes care of everybody, including those in global south, meaning richer countries, and also those which are in the global south, which are not so, privileged, so to say. So I would really like to stop here because I'm very much conscious of the time. And I would really stop here and would once again like to thank Gujarati University and the Management School for very kindly inviting me to give me this opportunity to be able to share some of the ideas. And I'll be very, very happy to be able to answer a few questions or queries in case there are any. What I'm really going to do is I'm really going to, rest my case with regard to where we are as countries and community of nations around the world are heading on a pathway which is going to really present to all of us a new international economic order, which would not be the same, which all of us have been able to live through in the past. So we have to really accordingly prepare and find our feet on the ground so that we don't really caught off it. And when we are prepared, we can really try and do or play our part pretty well as we move into a new area or a new world order, which will not only be determined by new geopolitics, but geopolitics in turn will also determine a new global international economic order. Thank you very much once again for this opportunity.
Thank you so much, sir, for conducting such an enriching session. And we all look forward, and hopefully, the future generations will get to live in the world that you talked about, the international, the new global architecture of the economy. So, thank you once again, sir. It was an honor having you and hearing you. Now we move ahead with our program, and it is time for the address by the National President of the Institute of Defense Science and Technology, Dr. C.L. Dhamejani. I take immense pleasure in welcoming you, sir. Currently, he is the president of the Institute of Defense Science and Technologies. He has obtained his PhD in mechanical engineering from IIT Bombay, master's in mechanical engineering from Moscow, degree in science from Agra University. Sir has served DRDO for 34 years as a scientist, including 5 years as the Director Vehicles Research and Development Establishment, Ahmednagar. Sir has published more than 20 papers and has subsequently been engaged for 10 years in academics as visiting professor at DIAT Pune and the professor and principal of the Jai Hind College of Engineering Pune, adjunct professor at VJTI Mumbai, professor emeritus College of Engineering Pune. Sir is the recipient of the Scientist of the Year Award and Technology Award from DRDO at the hands of the Honorable Prime Minister. and sir is the life member of the SAE USA. It is an honor to have you with us here today, and a very warm welcome to you. Sir, over to you.
Am I audible? Can you hear
Yes,
me?
sir, you are audible. Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Good morning to you all. Respected guests, Mr. Yu Kin Meng Soy, Advisor, Myanmar Institute of International Studies. Honorable Dr. Puran Chand Pandey, whom we heard just now. Member Board of Trustee, UN World Food Program, US. Respected Madam Anju Sharma, Principal Secretary, Higher and Technical Education, Gujarat Government. Honorable Vice Chancellor Dr. Himanshu Pandya, Honorable Dr. Jagdish Bhavsar, Pro Vice Chancellor Gujarat University, Honorable Dr. Pratik Kanchan, who is not here, Convener of the conference Dr. Neelam Pancha, delegates, guests, faculty and students. Thanks to you all for the honor given to me to be here in front of you. As you heard that I have been with DRDO for 34 years, and now I am in the IDST, that is also a part of DRDO. So I would like to present a case study of DRDO policy as to how to engage the retired DRDO scientists and technologists after services of 34 years. And as per our government policy, we retire at the age of 60, whereas academic institutions, you people retire at the age of 65 and 70. So this gap of 5 years is the time where we can share our learnings from the experience of scientists with the new generation. So that is the idea. And with this idea and policy of DRDO, they initiated a new institute for retired scientists. So I am a president of that institute. Can you make it a slideshow? Can you please make it a slideshow?
Yes, sir. It is already done. You please go ahead.
I can't see this slide. It is partly in this slideshow.
Yeah. So parallelly, we can see, sir,
Okay.
online.
Okay,
So
fine.
whatever the type you speak, I will scroll accordingly, sir.
Okay. Actually, I wanted to enlarge it. It is very small. Shall I raise my PPT? Can you see this? So can you? I can't see what is on this slide. Can you
Sir,
enlarge
you
it?
go ahead. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. What I'll do is I'll read out from here. So you change the slide. So I am at the first international conference on public policy, governance, and management. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, you are audible. You may go
Okay.
ahead, sir.
I'll go
Yes,
ahead
sir.
now. Right. Thank you.
Yes, yes, yes.
So I am at the first international conference on public policy, governance, and management. One of the missions of DRDO is to strengthen and nurture defense R&D capability in Indian academia and industry. IDST was conceptualized by DRDO for utilizing knowledge, experience, and technical know-how of the retired scientists in projects, activities, and to offset manpower shortfall. Formation of IDST was recommended by Dr. V.S. Atre, then scientific advisor to Raksha Mantri, and approved by Honorable Raksha Mantri, and was formalized by a government letter in 2003. Chairman DRDO is the patron of IDST, and he has nominated two Director Generals as reps on the IDST Central Council. Designated as deemed academic institution, it helps to facilitate outsourcing project work. Projects sanctioned to IDST by DRDO are similar to CARS, that is contracts for acquisition of research services. These are managed by the 4 regional councils at Bangalore, Delhi, Hyderabad, and Pune. DRDO has provided rent-free accommodation with essentials to IDST in these locations for its functioning. Recognized as Scientific and Industrial Research Organization by the Department of Scientific and Industrial Research. So this is the introduction to my institute, and achievements are we have completed about 1230 projects in since inception, that is for last about 17 years, and currently we are progressing 52 projects under various disciplines. These disciplines are strategic programs, avionics, R&D management, microelectronics, aeronautics, armaments, missiles, materials, combat vehicle engineering, and life sciences. We have technology specialist groups in different fields. We get inputs from retired scientists and labs to identify new areas for undertaking projects from DRDO. We conduct seminars, workshops, and technical courses. And if we see the breakup of the total project, we do R&D work of 7.8%, design testing 26%, inspection quality assurance 7.4%, manufacturing and assembly 24.8%, special training courses 5.4%, documentation 26.3%, conference, seminar, workshop 2.2%. 2-day national workshop. During the last 2 years, we have conducted 2-day national workshop on infrared technology, that is for sensors, devices, and systems at Delhi. 1 credit course on fundamentals of guided missile systems at IIT Delhi. 2-day technology training program on thermal design of electronic equipment, Bell Academy of Excellence, Bangalore. 6-day technical training program for Bharat Electronics executives on avionics and electronic warfare systems. Then 3-day course on the advances in reliability, quality assurance for missile and airborne systems. 4-day technical training program on system analysis, modeling, simulation. 4-day technology training on design of optomechanical systems. 3-day course on the intermediate range missile advanced warning system. 2-day training course on radars and electronic warfare techniques. 3-day course on the fundamentals of rockets and missiles. Soft skill course under .22 program for the new scientists inducted in DRDO at Defense Institute of Advanced Technology, Pune. 3-day course on the command and concepts and analysis in communication. Joint workshop we conducted with IDST and NSYS for working and knowledge of updation of NSYS software modules for training on 3D design, and then stress management workshop by IDST Delhi branch in Gujarat in March 2021 in virtual mode. Our plans are to conduct conclave of scientists where all the scientists of DRDO, ISRO, and Department of Atomic Energy will be meeting at Delhi in September 21, and we call it Convergence of Big Sciences for National Esteem. 1-year post PG diploma course on defense technology. We are in dialogue with Pune University. Training course on explosive and fire safety ammunition design for Ordnance Factory Board is due for after restrictions of Corona are lifted. As you know, we have the MOU with Gujarat University for conducting various courses for defense technology for UG and PG. Very first module we completed recently in the month of April, comprising of 36 lectures on defense technology for UG engineering students, and second course for defense management. Again, it was also, I think, a 3-credit course comprising of 36 lectures, and we have just completed. Now this summer internship program for these students is under progress in various DRDO laboratories. Now we have the proposal to conduct short-term course on fundamentals of combustion for propulsion and in one of the laboratories at Pune. So on the whole, we have now 52 projects at Bangalore, Delhi, Hyderabad, and Pune, costing about 6 crores, and we have already completed about 1230 projects costing about 100 crores. So some of the projects at Bangalore are consultancy for antennas, professional services for mechanical design, airworthiness certification for aero engines, technical consultancy for aero gas turbine, professional services for filtration system in tanks of 600 horsepower power pack. Delhi branch is conducting projects on rapid construction of helipad in sandy terrain, explosive safety consultancy, then special coating materials in arm length region. Hyderabad branch is also working on projects like consultancy in antennas, consultancies and services for electrical integration and related subsystems, consultancy services on development of tungsten, heavy alloys, design, manufacturing, and testing of torpedo mechanical systems with alternate materials and weight optimization, consultancy for wind tunnel testing and flow visualization in wind tunnel. Pune branch is working on projects like development and manufacturing of primary explosives, consultancy in development of advanced energetic compositions, technical support services for preparation and supply of light combat aircraft sets for light combat aircraft, professional services for assisting in manufacture of mechanical systems for various weapon systems. We have the capabilities to build up lessons learned data bank for clusters. We have clusters of labs. As you know, DRDO has got about 50 labs and 40 of them are bigger ones. We have the capability to carry out feasibility study, technical review, and project formulation, technical advice to vendors selected by labs to implement defense-specific procedures and documentation, providing system engineering support to R&D projects, IT security audit for labs. We also have expertise in quality and reliability analysis, quality management plans, performance parameters, bill of materials and acceptance tests, quality audit and advice for implementing quality program plans. How do we develop these technologies? Its process is like this. A scientist inducted in DRDO, currently we have 6,000 scientists. He works on equipment development, feasibility study, design development, prototype, trials, and after 4 to 5 years, one technology is ready with him for assessment. And he makes a presentation and assesses. Like this, in 30 to 35 years, each scientist retiring from DRDO is expert on 6 to 7 technologies as developed and realized by him. These technologies are to be shared with the new generation to avoid duplication. So we have this Institute of Defense Scientists and Technologists where all these retired scientists share their expertise with the various academic institutions and the incoming scientists. So we now we have with Gujarat University MOU for defense technology subjects, and DRDO has published syllabus for MTech in defense technology jointly with Indian Council of Technical Education. And with Pune University, we are in dialogue for carrying out PG certification in defense technologies. So these are the prospects for retired scientists. This is the latest one, syllabus brought out jointly by DRDO and All India Council of Technical Education. That is the syllabus for MTech in defense technology. And these are the technologies: weapon system, missile system, ground system, communication system, quality assurance, reliability, support system, fighter aircrafts, naval systems. So with this, it is possible to now you can get the MTech degree as a specialized in defense technology, and this has to be syllabus has to be implemented by technical institutions jointly with the Institute of Defense Scientists and Technologists, where the faculty will come from IDST as well as from the host institution. These are the subjects, that is systems and platforms, system engineering and analysis. In the first semester, there are 3 compulsory subjects and 2 electives. And advantage is that you don't have to develop any lab for this. DRDO has got laboratories. These laboratories will be used for all the experimental work. So your students can go and carry out the experiments in DRDO labs. So that is the advantage of working on this MTech in defense technology degree. So in first semester is this. Second semester, again, you get specialized in one of these technologies, that is combat vehicle engineering, aerospace technology, naval technology, communication systems, directed energy technology, high energy materials technology. So these are the further details of these specializations. And you can also choose elective courses from the defense technologies, or you can choose from the other current engineering fields. So jointly you can do the host test institute with the IDST can carry out the MTech course in defense technology. So there are some BTech elective subjects also possible, 106. These are being worked out with the AICT, and we may come out shortly joint syllabus for these subjects also. So these are the all elective subjects in each field of UG level. Now with this, I come to the concluding slide, that IDST has been contributing usefully to DRDO for R&D work and projects, and conclave of scientists is a step forward towards convergence towards big sciences for national goals. And IDST services are available to educational institutions to involve IDST in more projects and activities: project documentation, test protocol formulation, data analysis and report preparation, developing monitoring projects in collaboration with academic institutions and with labs funded by DRDO. First level scrutiny project proposals submitted to Directorate of that is extramural research and intellectual property rights, and 4 research boards. We have research boards like armament, etc. Conduct of some CEP courses, continuing education program courses may be interested to IDST, and we have our website for more details. With this, I come to the end of my presentation of IDST, and if you have any questions, I am available. Thank you. If you have any questions, I am available.
Thank you so much, sir, for this enlightening speech. It is an honor having you here today. And now it is time to release the book of proceedings, which contains contributions in the areas of public policy, governance, management systems, and other issues. I request the head of the Department of Public Policy and Governance to do the honor of the release of the same. The books are Management Control System, Emerging Issues and Trends in Research, and Strategy and Execution, Public Policy and Challenges. I request all the dignitaries present here to join hands for the release of our book. Over to you, Neelam ma'am.
Thank you, and we welcome Honorable Anju Sharma ma'am over here. Thank you. Over to you, Purva.
The Department of Public Policy and Governance, established in the year 2020, is also honored to be releasing its first ever newsletter at the International Conference of Public Policy and Governance 2021. Thank you so much. Now, moving ahead with our international conference, I take immense pleasure in welcoming our guest of honor, Mr. Yu Kin Mong So. Mr. Yu Kin Mong So is an analyst and researcher at Mandalay Green City Public Cooperation Limited, Myanmar. Mr. Kin is consultant cum lecturer for a number of private and public organizations for the rationalization and capacity building to prepare for the China's Belt and Road Initiative, One Belt, One Road Initiative in Mandalay and Myanmar at large. He used to be a national consultant with AOB and ODI for their projects in Mandalay. His previous professions enable him to acquire international corporate cultures and best workplace practices. He was a cost controller with international hotel managements, including Accor in France, Sakura Group in Japan, and Sedona Hotel International in Singapore. He is currently the Secretary of Political Science Alumni Association, University of Mandalay. Sir is also the founding secretary of MBA Alumni Association with the University of Mandalay. Sir has been listed one of the founding members of Myanmar China One Belt One Road Entrepreneurs Development Association, which is a result of Second China Asian Entrepreneurs Forum under the theme Jointly Progressing on Innovations, Driven Ground and Embracing New Economy Era in Asia, and is dedicated to lifelong studies of Chindia, the rise of China and India for Myanmar's future. Sir, I welcome you once again on behalf of the Department of Public Policy and Governance to this International Conference of Public Policy and Governance, BK School of Professional and Management Studies. Kindly grace the occasion with your kind words, sir.
We also welcome over here Professor Himanshu Pandya, Vice Chancellor of Gujarat University, and Dr. Anju Sharma, IAS Principal Secretary, Technical Education over here. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Can I start?
Yes, sir, you may go ahead.
Good morning, ladies, gentlemen, and honorable students. Thank you, Director Dr. Prati Kenchen and faculty member of BK School of Professional and Management Study, Gujarat University. I really appreciate Dr. Neelan Pancher, BKSPMS, for your continuous, collective, and impressive initiative to empower many others by organizing this first international conference on public policy, governance, and management. Main theme of this conference, public policy and governance, contemporary issue, challenges and opportunity in global economy is very timely and relevant amid the COVID-19 pandemic and the global power transition, geopolitical competition, and power rivalries in the world. According to late Professor A.F.K. Organsky, a power transition is a situation in which a dominant global power is at least somewhat declining and a new global power is rising. During a power transition, risk of conflict and even war can run high. India is one of the major players on the world stage. India has an reputation of the world biggest democracy with unity in diversity and diversity in unity. Many successful story of India give many other countries, including my country, Myanmar, hope, courage, and even inspiration. In fact, politics is complex and full of paradoxical tangles of event, circumstances, and development both at home and abroad. Everything is challenging with a human war with more than 7.9 billion population. It is true that every challenge has its own opportunities and dangers. With vision and action, we can increase opportunities and decrease dangers. Homo sapien where continues to exist. I'm really delighted to be invited as a chief guest together with many other brilliant souls from both at India and abroad at this very auspicious inauguration ceremony. The leader of this prestigious Gujarat University have real power because they really empower many stakeholders with Indian society, especially talented and ambitious younger generation. Youth is the most important and dynamic segment of the population in any country. Today, young Indians are very lucky as India's economic and demographic trend contribute significantly to the concept of 21st century as Asian century. The Asian century is the projected 21st century dominance of Asian politics and culture, assuming certain demographic and economic trend persist. The term Asian century emerged in the 1980s and it continues to gain traction at a concept of following the release of a report by the Asian Development Bank in August 2011. Asia is increasingly the center of the global economy. Asia is the world's largest regional economy, and as its economy integrates further, it has the potential to fuel and shape the next phase of globalization. The narrative of Indo-Pacific strategy linked with the Asian century. The Japan participation of regional comprehensive economic partnership is reportedly rooted at this concept of 21st century as Asian century. The RECP is a free trade agreement between the five Asian Pacific nations Australia, Brunei, Cambodia, China, Indonesia, Japan, Laos, Malaysia, Myanmar, New Zealand, the Philippines, Singapore, South Korea, Thailand, and Vietnam. The 15 member countries account for about 30% of world population and 30% of global GDP as of 2020, making it the biggest trade bloc in history. India was also in the negotiation for RCEP, which began in 2012, but withdrew it at the last moment. RCEP member countries still open the door for India if it wants to join at a later date. RCEP members are keen that India, with its 1 billion population, more than 1 billion population, and the daunting GDP figure uh, came on both the bloc, which will make seamless trade with the region a reality. Many scholars believe that 19th century belongs to United Kingdom and the 20th century to the United States. A 2011 study by the Asian Development Bank found that 3 billion Asians could join living standard similar to those in Europe today, and the region could account for one half of global output by the middle of this century. It warned, however, that the Asian century is not preordained. The major countries of Asia desperately need to consolidate their unity. One is come to Asian politics and culture. Both India and China have rich legacy with their Asian civilization dating back to thousands of years ago. The good news with India is that by 2020, India became the world's youngest country with 60% of its population in the working age group. According to the latest United Nations data, the median age in India is 28.4 years. What does this mean? Half of Indian population is already below 28 years of age. This unique demographic potential offer India and its growing economy an unprecedented edge that economists believe could add a significant 2% to the GDP growth rate. This made India more ambitious and industrious. This scenario was true before COVID-19 pandemic that claimed more than 350,000 dead already in the whole India. Throughout human history, India and its brilliance soul in various fields of study never failed to inspire the rest of the world and its immediate neighbor, especially my country, Myanmar, and a couple of other neighbors. The late His Excellency APJ Abdul Kalam, the 11th President of India, said, and I quote, one of the very important characteristics of a student is to question. Let the student ask questions. Even in his last moment, he urged young students to question. While delivering a lecture at the Indian Institute of Management, Shillong, President Kalan collapsed and died from an apparent cardiac arrest on 27, 2015, at the age of 83. In my humble opinion, education is all about asking good questions. Good questions are conducive to many breakthroughs, including development of scientific theory, discovery, invention, and even spiritual enlightenment. When I prepare for my keynote speech, a question came to my mind that why this first international conference is aimed to draw the attention of diverse audience, academician, student, research scholar, policy regulator, auditing and rating agency, lawyer, NGO, and anyone with an interest in public policy. The conference brochure mentioned that the Department of Public Policy and Governance intend to undertake the activity for promoting education, research, training, and consultancy in the area of public policy and governance with great pleasure. It is safe to say that the top administrator of Gujarat University, the professor and faculty member of DPPG, BKSPMS, want to help India to narrow down gap between public policy and public opinion. Professor Noam Chomsky, an American linguistic philosopher, cognitive scientist, historian, social critic, and political activist, famously said, there is a tremendous gap between public policy and public opinion. I think public, the Professor Noam Chomsky's statement is true with almost every country in the world, especially in this time of pandemic crisis. Dear honorable student, don't you think what Professor Noam Chomsky said is one of the biggest challenges that is facing discipline of public policy and governance? The unprecedented challenges of the war are forcing us to generate bold, groundbreaking and innovative strategy for the global public good for the benefit of all nations, all people, and all generations by asking a lot of questions to ourselves and many without injecting bias into any situation. Foreign policy is an extension of domestic policy. Why this ubiquitous statement is very often preached by policymaker and decision maker? What and how do they really want people to understand it? What is public policy and why it is important to understand? If simply put, public policy is essential element of domestic policy. What is governance and what it is important to develop governance? Simply, governance is decision making. With good governance, life will improve for all. At the end of the day, what really matters most with public policy and governance is that informed citizen and informed decision are essential for thriving democracy and sustainable development, through which spread of happiness, prosperity, and better quality of life for everyone in society will be looked after by themselves without discrimination. Dear student, you must try to understand what you are studying very well, and you have to explain trying to explain it simply. Albert Einstein said, if you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough. No doubt, you know it very well that there are 6 different stages of public policy, which include agenda setting, policy formulation, policy implementation, policy evaluation, and policy change and policy termination. Mastering public policy is easier said than done. The knowing doing gap are the disconnection between knowledge and action. Knowing is one thing and doing is another. Like planning is one thing and implementation is another. His Excellency Ambassador Christopher Lam, my good friend, President of Australian Myanmar Institute, told me that active participation of grassroots people are key to public policy processes. Grassroots movement organize and mobilize individuals to take action intended to influence social and political issues. Another friend, Mr. Ryan Brett Ken, a real Homo sapien and Singaporean friend of mine, who earned his master's degree in applied economics with School of Humanity and Social Science of prestigious Nanyang Technological University, once inspired me that negative influence of many NGOs, CBO, CSO, and faith organizations are likely to impact public opinion negatively if their funding agency are string attached and have hidden political objective. Regarding development project in India, I am aware of various financing programs from international financial institutions like World Bank, ADB, and AIB, Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank. They are becoming more responsive to the needs of developing countries. The AIB, which began operation in 2016, has an inspiring motto, Infrastructure for Tomorrow, I40. At an international conference organized by National Institute of Advanced Study in Bangalore in 2015, I joined this conference representing ADB. I requested Dr. V.S. Shashari, the former Indian ambassador in Myanmar, to make his expert assessment on Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank. I got inspired by his insightful deliberation. Everything has 2 sides. Looking at the brighter side is more constructive. Both India and Myanmar are founding members of the AIIB. Number doesn't lie. The AIIB has 57 founding members, 37 regional and 20 non-regional. By the end of 2020, AIIB had 103 approved members, representing approximately 79% of the global population and 65% of global GDP. Interestingly, India has received financing from AIB for its 24 projects, including Gujarat Rural Road MMGSY with US 329 million, Bangalore Metro Rail Project Line R6 with US 335 million, Andhra Pradesh Rural Road Project with USD 455 million. COVID-19 Emergency Response and Health System Preparedness Project with US 500 million. Just to name a few, and the list go on. Dear honorable student, you, you are to ask many critical questions based on data-driven analysis and evidence-based approach. With innovation and rationalization, you can achieve everything. Being ardent learner of public policy and governance, you have great opportunity in year to come. Change is always constant and inevitable. Alvin Toffler, a world-renowned futurist, said, the illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn and unlearn and relearn. This message is very important for everyone. In conclusion, BK School of Professional and Management Study Gujarat University deserve a big credit for today's successful holding of first international conference with the theme of public policy and governance, contemporary issue, challenges and opportunity in global economy. Dear great student, be true, be just, do love and cherish your parents and your teacher. Extend sincere friendship to your neighbor and serve your country more than yourself. Strive your best to be informed citizen and become source of inspiration or become to make informed decision by asking good question, bias-free question for the benefit of global public goods for all country, people, and generation. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you so much, sir, for the wonderful message. I would like to re-quote you. The illiterate of the 21st century won't be someone who doesn't read or study, but it will be someone who will stop learning and relearning. This is a very great message for all our students and our listeners. And thank you so much, sir, once again for sparing your valuable time and being over here with us and gracing our occasion. Thank you, sir. Now it is time to welcome none other than Anju Sharma ma'am. Anju Sharma ma'am is a member of the prestigious Indian Administrative Service and has been serving in the government at senior leadership positions for more than 26 years. Ma'am is currently serving as the Principal Secretary, Higher and Technical Education, Government of Gujarat. Ma'am is the recipient of the several awards, namely the Prime Minister's Award for Administrative Excellence for implementing the Sickle Cell Anemia Control Program in the state, Individual Contribution Award for Health Insurance Scheme, Rashtriya Swasthya Bima Yojana, the NASSCOM Social Innovation Leaders Award, National E-Governance Award, E-World Award for the Project E-Mamta MCTS, and India Tech Award for the Project E-Mamta MCTS. Ma'am has authored 2 books, Eye of the Storm, Discover Your True Self, and Corporate Monk, A Journey from Wealth to Wisdom. I take immense pleasure and honor in welcoming you, ma'am. Over to you, ma'am, for your speech.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Purva. Professor Kim Mong Soy from Myanmar, Dr. C.L. Dhamajani, Vice Chancellor of Gujarat University, Dr. Pandya, Dr. Bhavsar, the Vice Chancellor of Gujarat University, Dr. Neelam Banchal, who's heading this division, and all the eminent people who are watching this program and attending this international conference, all the panelists and participants. It's a very, very contemporary and burning topic, is the shift in the policy planning, policy implementation, or whatever you say that is now being faced by the world all over. And especially so because of the challenges that this pandemic has posed before us. It appears that all this has called for a paradigm shift in the entire process. So the entire scenario of policy studies has come to a point where we rethink our processes, we rethink our priorities, and we also recontemplate the implications of the policy. The first and foremost thing which this pandemic has brought before us, of course, this was earlier also there, that the world becoming flat. Whatever happened in India affected Myanmar, Bangladesh, China, and US, UK, Australia, Russia. But This pandemic has shown that this process is not very, very slow, but it's very, very fast, very, very immediate. And it spreads at a faster pace than the time taken by you to study whatever has happened in another country or and decide on what you have to do. So the time gap between something happening in one country and something in another country or the entire globe all over has reduced. And this pandemic has brought before us very, very clearly. And now when we think about policies at the domestic front, we are not only looking at ourselves, at the impact of these policies at home, but beyond, and also vice versa. So this globalization process has become very fast now. And we have probably awakened to the fact that this globalization process is going to be faster and faster in the days to come. So this is the most important change that the entire policy process is likely to face in the coming days. Another thing which is connected to this, now this is something like a pandemic, is happening at a physical level. Now it is affected by the movement of people and the movement of materials and what have you. But at the same time, there is also a very important aspect of this movement, and that is the movement of information. The movement of information, again, because of social media, internet, everything, is very, very quick. And you cannot stop information from spreading across continents in minutes, what to say of hours, in seconds. So this very fast movement of information allows for exchange of views, exchange of ideas, and not only that, it it demands greater accountability on the part of policy planners and also the people who implement the policy, more so on the part of policy planners, I would say. And this accountability is not only now, you're not only accountable for your people at home, but you're also accountable to people abroad. Because as I told you, the impact, the range of impact has increased a lot. So we have to factor in the number of stakeholders has increased to a large extent. And when we do our stakeholder analysis, we have to possibly take into consideration more non-conventional stakeholders that we would otherwise consider. Another thing that is very important, which is also connected to the point of accountability, but as Dr. Khin Maungso said, that public opinion with social media entering into each and every house, public opinion has become a very, very common commodity, very, very common commodity. And some or the other public opinion, good or bad, adverse or favorable, is created without any impact, without any study, without any detailed analysis, without any scientific analysis. Just on the basis of assumptions, hearsay, and maybe some preconceived notions, maybe some biases, maybe some prejudices, and maybe some own ideas, self-generated ideas about a particular policy. And this public opinion is so fast. The public opinion is generated very fast, and is spread very fast. And by the time you are about to implement the policy, some or the other public opinion is on your table. Oh my God, what is this? And sometimes this public opinion, as I told you, does not have any factual or scientific basis. Now, this becomes a very important challenge for the policy planners, because something that is not connected to what you're planning, not connected to what your decision is coming before you and challenging you. So this public opinion part has to be managed very, very carefully, and a lot of energy has to be spent, a lot of investment, a lot of effort has to be spent on managing this public opinion in social media. So that managing that part has become a very important aspect of policy planning in modern days. And that's why many policy planners now, what they're doing is that the processes have changed. Instead of putting the policy, instead of serving it on the table, you first kind of bring it in so that people can smell the aroma, and then a public opinion is created, and then accordingly you can tweak it, or you can manage the public opinion. So various kind of tools, various kind of tactics can be utilized for that. But what I'm trying to say, that a lot of effort has to get into this aspect. And that is why all the policy planning divisions, all the public policy offices, they also have to have a social media cell to keep their eyes, ears, and mouths open. And communication about the policy, a very clear-cut communication, one-to-one communication about the policy is very important. If you don't do that, then the information is likely to be confused, misled, distorted, and then presented to people, and then come back to you in the form of public opinion. In fact, sometimes it's so surprising that what you are still planning, it reverts back to you on social media in some distorted form. Oh my God, this is not the way I kind of really wanted. I was really wanting to do it, but it happens. So that's a very important aspect that has to be addressed. Technology, again, it's a boon, it's a bane. I would say that how we use it decides what we do with technology, decides what happens to us and how we can effectively use this as a resource. Technology is here to stay. Technology is there. We have to make a very effective use of technology in not only planning but implementing the policy. See, policy implementation is also now, it involves a lot of planning. So it's not that policy planning and policy implementation are cut and dried. No. Policy planning requires a lot of implementation, as I told you, that you have to put in a lot of energy into the pre-policy process. And the policy implementation has to be planned very meticulously. So a lot of technology can be used for the implementation of the policy, how the policy is implemented, how it reaches the people faster, how the result can be obtained faster, and in a more transparent and effective manner. The most important thing that technology can give us is transparency and speed. Therefore, any governance now has to have e-governance. And technology should be adequately harnessed for every policy. So that's another, I would say it's not a challenge, but it's an opportunity for all of us. And it's a great strength for us if we are good in technology, if we have the latest technological tools available with us. And in general, I would say that the entire process of policy, with the world becoming more global, more flat, is that a very high accountability is expected out of the policy planning and implementation process. because now you are not addressing a population of something like 70 million or 80 million or say 1 billion for India, but you are addressing the global population. And people get affected in each and every nook and corner of the world. You have to be accountable to all of them. And therefore, a higher accountability process is demanded of all the policy planners and the policy implementers. So we have to be very, very aware and awake to this fact that this has to be done. So another thing, of course, yes, I wanted to highlight and somehow I missed it, is that it's, working in silos cannot be the trend now. See, we created a system in the earlier days when an engineer would study engineering, perform tasks related to engineering, have a career in engineering, and go ahead. A person in medicine would study medicine, practice medicine, excel in medicine. Somebody in teaching would similarly do that. Somebody in administration would simply do that. Now it's not possible. We have to think laterally, connect laterally, and we have to be very rounded and organic personalities. Multidisciplinary approach is what is required. We cannot have policy planners who think straight, who think in silos. We cannot operate in silos. We have to take the cross-cutting implications on board. We have to consider them, and we have to prepare ourselves for studying and for taking on board all these cross-cutting, cross-sectoral implications of policies. So with this, I would like to wind up and thank you, Gujarat University, for inviting me. I'm sure today's international conference would help the participants in understanding and deliberating on the policy planning perspectives and the policy planning developments in the near future. And we are able to contribute to the society and to the nation as a whole and to the global society as a whole through better policies and better implementation. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for being with us here today and sparing your very valuable time with us here. You are truly an inspiration, and the words that you said have been imprinted in our minds. And the message to all the students and the coming up students who are the future of India is that, you are not supposed to serve only your society or your sector. The world is your family and the world is your canvas. So you can paint all the colors there. So thank you, ma'am, for this wonderful message. It was very inspiring listening to you. Thank you once again for being a part of this conclave. Thank you, ma'am. Now I like to call upon Dr. Neelam Panchal, the head of the Department of Public Policy and Governance, to propose the vote of thanks.
Good morning once again. It's a great pleasure and a great morning where all the stalwarts are present over here. I express my sincere gratitude to our chief guest, respected Madam Anju Sharma, IAS, Principal Secretary, Higher and Technical Education, for joining us and sparing valuable time for us. Thank you so much, ma'am, for your wonderful insights and giving a directions to the students and all of us for the future. Thanks again for joining over here. I present and propose my thanks to respected Honorable Vice Chancellor of the Gujarat University, Professor Himanshu Pandya, and Honorable Dr. Jagdish Bhavsa Sir, Pro Vice Chancellor, Gujarat University, for their consistent guidance, their consistent support, and allowing us for the program and for this conference. Thank you so much, sir, for being with us and sparing your valuable time. I propose a thanks to Shri Piyush Patel, sir, Registrar, Gujarat University, for giving us an opportunity to organize this event. Special thanks to the keynote speaker, Dr. Puran Chandra Pandey, member of the Board of Trustees, United Nations World Food Programme Trust, and resident representative at Climate Scorecard, Milton, United States. Thank you so much, sir, for sparing your valuable time and for being with us over here. I thank Dr. C.L. Damajani, President, Institute of Defense Science and Technology, for being over here and sharing your valuable insights on the defense and the national security. Special thanks to Mr. Kin Mong So, Advisor, Myanmar Institute of Strategic and International Studies and Consultant, Mandalay Green City Public Company Limited, Myanmar. I give my sincere thanks to Professor Pratik Kanchan, Director, BK School of Professional and Management Studies, for giving encouragement and guidance throughout the way for this conference. I'm really indebted to the team for participating in the event. There are so many participants across the globe who are going to present the paper. We are having different plenary sessions throughout the day, and we have around 30 plenary speakers in different parallel tracks that we have organized. In addition, there are scholars and the students and the faculties across the nation and across the globe. They're going to give their insights in the form of the paper presentation in this conference. So I extend my special thanks to all the educational institutions and educational bodies who displayed such an enthusiastic participation. A special mentioning of all the national and international speakers, academicians, practitioners, researchers, and participants of International Conference of Public Policy Governance and Management. And I'm thankful to my faculty colleagues, Professor Maghi Parikh, Professor Nilima Ruparel, Professor Mamta Brahmbat, Dr. Mehal Pandya, Dr. Jay Desai, Dr. Ankita Katheria for their constant cooperation and consistent support. Special thanks to Kinjal Desai, Madam, PRO, and a placement coordinator. I'm indebted to all the members of the review committee who have reviewed the papers and spent their valuable time and effort for reviewing the paper and identifying very good papers which are going to be presented in the conference. I wish to thank from bottom of heart for the constant support at all the phases for MBA full-time students, MBA evening students, MBA maritime students, MBA public policy management students, MBA event management students, MBA business economics and public finance, MBA in defense management, and all the students and the staff members of the BK School of Professional and Management Studies. I also thank to all the research scholars who are working day and night for the success of the conference. And at last, an immeasurable gratitude to my family for extending me strength throughout the time to organize the conference and the programs like this. So thank you so much once again for connecting us and joining us in this inauguration function. After 10-minute breaks, we will have a plenary session 1. And then after, we are going to have parallel presentation tracks. So one track is on public policy and governance. The other track is on defense and the national security. The third track is all about the poster presentations that the students are going to make. And then after, we would have again post-lunch plenary session followed by the valedictory function of the conference. So thank you so much who have directly or indirectly supported this gathering and this conference. Thanks again. So see you in the plenary session 1.